This is the first time I've had a chance to visit with you since Media Day. And I want to start off by apologizing for that performance. I want to be really clear that there is zero intent to mislead. The report found that. I did not answer questions with the accuracy that I should have. I didn't listen closely to the questions. And I want to explain why. At the late the night before press conference in Chicago, I received a text message. And the message asked me, would I like to comment on a felony assault arrest in 2015 of Zach Smith? And I was shocked. I had no recollection of a felony assault arrest. I immediately sent a group text out to people, and the people were Gene Smith, our Jerry, assistant athletic director, I recall, and a couple of people back here at the office. And to paraphrase the text, it was, I do not recall the events of 2015. Please advise, I do not want to be wrong at Media Day. And that text was out there, and that's what I sent out. About an hour later, I get a phone call from a staff member here who was our liaison to law enforcement. And he says, Coach, there's no arrest. We can't even find a police report in 2015. The only thing that we see on his record is a divorce and his recent trespass situation that he had in July. And there's nothing to that story. There's nothing to it. I hang up the phone, I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning, and I go to Media Day. The focus of as I was asked questions, was on that felony arrest that never took place. And so once again, for those of you, I see some of you here that asked those questions, I apologize. I got to do a better job of listening. It's very comfortable for me to obviously to talk about football and players and teams, but that situation when I started getting peppered about questions about what I perceived to be a felony assault arrest, that's why I answered it the way I did. I've always had somewhat good relationship with the media. I've always been forthright with you the best I can. If I have not been, I apologize, but there's no intent. There's no intent. For those of you who know me well, some of you don't know me at all, there's never been an intent to mislead. I would also like to give you a little bit of a timeline of what's happened in the last several years here. In 2012, I was hired at Ohio State, and I was putting together a staff. And the staff, it was going fast. A lot of activity going on, a lot of recruiting going on. And I looked into Zach Smith. He's worked at 2 other previous universities. I was getting very, very high recommendations about his performance as a recruiter and his knowledge of our offense. I made a decision to hire him. In 2012, 13, and 14, he did a very good job. One of the best recruiters on our staff. Developed an excellent group of receivers. Some would say the 2014 group of receivers was as good as ever play here at Ohio State. In 2015, I received, Gene Smith came up to me on the practice field and told me there was a domestic issue between Zach and Courtney. We were both furious. I remember getting a hold of Zach and telling him, if this is domestic violence, you're fired immediately. Gene Smith reiterated that issue to him, that this would be an instant termination if this was domestic violence. He told us that it was not. He would never hit Courtney. He had never done it, never would do it. And once again, I and Gene made perfectly clear, if this is domestic violence, you're terminated within minutes. And so I then asked Gene, I said, what do I need to do? Gene said, allow the investigation to take place. Do not get involved in the investigation. We'll update you along the journey and go. It was right in the middle of a season, and 15, as you recall, was a very up and down season, a very intense season. And I was updated throughout that time. As I was receiving updates, as it became close to the conclusion, what I was hearing back from law enforcement is that this was not domestic violence, that this was a very nasty divorce, child custody issues involved, but it was not domestic violence. And finally, in conclusion, that was what we received back, that there was no arrest, no charges, not domestic violence, just a very messy divorce with child custody issues. I then had to make a decision. And that decision was, I've seen Courtney Smith for many years around here with her beautiful children. I made a decision like I have in the past. Once I knew domestic violence was not part of the situation. Once again, if it was perfectly clear, and the report shares that. Mary Jo's report came out with that, saying that that she was impressed with our core values of treat one with respect, which we work so hard on that around here, and then also that I would fire any staff member immediately if I believed or I was told that this was, in fact, domestic violence. So I made a decision. How do I best help stabilize? I've seen these kids many, many times. Like I said, I've seen Courtney many, many times. I was dealing with a coach that was dealing with work-related issues, all during this time of this separation and divorce. And so I made a decision, and I talked to Gene about it. Let's get him very intense counseling. Let's monitor this closely and help try to stabilize this guy so he can be a good father and support the family the way he should. And that's what we did. So we put him in counseling. We watched it very closely throughout the counseling. I was made aware of a couple scenarios, situations that took place. One was a credit card situation where he was supporting 2 homes, I was told, and he maximized his credit cards. Gene and I both sat with him and tried to advise him through that. I was also made aware that through the counseling, university counseling, that he has a prescription drug that he was using more than he should. I again asked what needed to be done, and they assured me he was doing much better. He was getting everything in order, and I actually thought we made it through it. He came out the other end of this a very difficult time. His production increased. He looked much better. I saw his children constantly, which I encourage. We have family nights every week, so I see his children all the time. He became, once again, one of our better recruiters. Had a good year, had a great year in 17, and actually had some job offers this year to move on. He made the decision to stay here because he didn't want to leave his children. I thought we made it through, and periodically I would ask about the relationship with him and Courtney, and I was told by him that it was very good. It was very good. And so that was in 16, 17, and really the first 6 months of 18, I heard nothing other than things are going fairly well, very well. And then in summer of 2018, we're on vacation. I was back here getting ready for training camp. I'm made aware of a trespassing citation. I call him in immediately off of vacation, and I ask, what's this all about? And I find out it's actually 2 months prior to when I found out. I was very upset with him, very angry about not being forthright. And because I have to alert Gene, which I did immediately. I alerted Gene about this trespassing. He made it sound as if he just dropped his kids off at the wrong place. He was supposed to drop them off here. Instead, he dropped them off here. I think he said like a $25 fine or something like that. And I just was so angry that I had to hear about it from somewhere else. I made it clear, you keep me posted on everything. I've made it clear to all our coaches. I need to know before I'm told from you. And I go to Chicago, bring my family to Chicago. On Monday, I'm made aware of a protective order against Zach. Once again, he does not tell me. A protective order is obviously very serious. And I begin to go into termination mentality, and I alert Gene Smith a few hours later, and I fire Zach Smith. One other thing that I was asked several times throughout the investigation, and recently I've been asked, and it's about the deleted text messages or changing the setting on my phone. And I have never deleted a text message. I've never changed the setting on my phone. And I was asked that. I made that clear to the investigators. I've made it clear also many, many people have access to my phone, including IT people, including to people that help me recruit. It's not uncommon for me to recruit over 100 players a day and send out graphics and videos. I have hundreds of videos of my grandson and other family videos, and what happens is my phone started locking up throughout the spring, and and the IT person would take my phone, and whatever he did to increase the storage capacity. And I found out in several months ago, I think late spring is what I was told, is that he changed my setting to 1 year. So once again, I never changed the setting on my phone. I never changed a text message on my phone. And when I heard that, I just, all due respect to the report, I would never do that, and I did not do that. I don't even know how to change the setting on my phone. So with that said, I'll answer any questions for you.